guys, welcome to another episode.
We are thrilled this week to have Britt Sawyer of Sawyer Media Group on with us. She is going to talk us through the building blocks of your brand. She's brilliant. She's helped a lot of small businesses and contractors build out their brands, and she's just going to talk us through exactly how to do it and the importance of it. Welcome to Trade Secrets, where we demystify digital marketing to help contractors get the most bang for their marketing bucks.
This is for you if you're a contractor looking for actionable marketing insights.
Learn from home services industry experts to elevate your business through simplified marketing strategies.
Let's dive into today's trade secret. Guys, we are so excited to introduce you to Britt Sawyer of Sawyer Media Group. She's our friend and our partner and our colleague, and she has some serious chops when it comes to branding. So Britt, would you just introduce yourself a little bit and kind of give everyone a little background on yourself?
Yeah. Well, my name is Britt Sawyer. It's just Britt, not short for Brittany. That's number one branding tip. But I have been in the marketing world or industry for the last almost 10, 11 years. I started off at an agency near me and then got married. And my husband decided that I needed to help him with his marketing. And he owned a crime and trauma cleanup company, which we clean crime and trauma scenes.
I have so many questions. I feel like they need an NBC series after your husband's company.
Yes. I have all the things. I can talk about death like nobody's business. And additionally, I have, my mom is a gynecologist, so I did all of her marketing. So I've got like a whole array of marketing knowledge and, so he essentially asked me to leave, that agency, and I started working for him. And we started growing the business. I rebranded them. Talking about death is just not a really fun topic to talk to anybody. Nobody needs it unless they are literally sitting at their scene and needing to get their life like they just need to figure it out. So we did a great job in growing the business. He got a lot more business out of it. We launched a new website. We were kind of the talk of the town. And I said, if I can market a crime and trauma scene cleanup company, I can probably market anybody at this point. So that's when we started Sawyer Media Group in 2017. And we've been in business since, focusing on, we like small local businesses that are near to us. Not to say we won't go out and find other business, but we really truly care about the small business owners and making their dreams come true. They have invested in a lot. Our tagline is be proud of what you built and go all in. And that's truly what we like to do for our clients. So that's me in a nutshell. I don't know if that
no. I love it. When you were at your agency, did you like straight from college go into an agency and just start learning all kinds of fun?
Oh, no. Things. So, straight out of college, my dad got me hooked up with this startup company in Atlanta that valued antiques and collectibles online. And it was like such a weird industry. I could tell you so many weird things, but essentially it was this startup. And it was me, I was probably still in college, just out of school. And it was the CEO, the CFO, and the corporate controller. And I'll never forget, I was going to school for marketing or public relations. They all kind of go together. But they needed someone to help with this. Like they were getting audited for like 4 years back. And they were like, I don't know what we're going to do. So they're like, Britt, he took an accounting class. You can help us with this. I'm like, okay. So I 20, I think I wasn't even 21 yet because they actually bought me my first drink. I was that young when I was starting.
Oh my gosh.
At 20, I learned how to do crazy accounting stuff, ran their QuickBooks, was reconciling, for the, doing all the things, just grunt work. I think that that's something that people don't understand anymore is get as much experience and get the grunt work done. And, in the long run, you can own your own business and not have to like worry about the day-to-day, accounting or bookkeeping. I know enough to be dangerous, I guess, in that part.
Yeah, I think that's what happens to all of us. Like old school a little bit, like that is what happens. You get your first job, and it isn't that $100,000 a year with no experience, fresh out the gates. Like I hear some other generations expect. But it is. I think I know Amanda and I kind of worked a little bit here. I worked in mostly construction, but I like dabbled in the finance industry because I was like, oh, this is like a massive paycheck. Why wouldn't I try this? And then I absolutely hated it and was like, give me back to construction and home services. But so we met you and came across you through one of now, our clients, and you did the most beautiful branding job on their website, their cards, like their logo. And you really brought them up to date. You made them stand out and I hate to say this, they're a roofer and a remodeling contractor, but roofers are always red in their logo. There's always some red and black in there. I feel like that's, I would say like 80%, maybe 75%.
I even grabbed one of their old business cards so I could just show you the stark contrast of like how pretty we made them.
Yeah. But totally different. Yeah. So we fell in love with the branding that you did. We kind of love like the storytelling that you did on their site through imagery, colors, even like the different fonts and headlines. And so that's why we were really inspired to and now that's grown because we loved your work so much. We partner with you and have projects with you, and we absolutely love it and love you. So what I would love for you to just kind of start speaking on is branding. I think every contractor has heard, oh, branding, build your brand. You have to build your brand. And the how-tos on branding, there's a million different places to start. But I would love for you to just dive in on what branding really means and its importance and how it impacts a business, whether you're just starting out and you've got $500,000 in sales a year, or you're at $10 million a year.
So as you're asking this question, I have a million things going on in my brain. That's what I get so excited to talk about branding because
I know you do.
I get so passionate about it. One, it makes you look really good. And then two, it is just so impactful. But I think there's a kind of a miscommunication or a misunderstanding about branding. A lot of my clients, when they come to us, think that they come with a logo. So it's just their name, maybe something frilly on it, and that's it. And you're like, that's it. Okay. And I'm like, we have branding, it's all ready to go. And you get the file and you're like, but it's not. Branding is way more than just your logo. And that's something that we try to kind of hammer home for our clients. I had a boss once tell me that owned the agency I was at was, there's something to be said about when someone is really proud of their brand, they're going to wear it with pride. And I like to create assets and just a foundation to make their team excited about their logo or their brand moving forward. With all of our branding projects, we have several components. There's the design component. So, you've got your logo, but it's not just one variation of your logo. Depending on the usage of it, you want your logo to be versatile. So you've got, your primary logo format, and then you've got a secondary one that traditionally is a horizontal variation of it. And that would be used on envelopes, letterhead, other ways on your website when you move into that part of your project. But the other one that I think does get skipped over is a logo mark, something that's iconic that can be utilized on social media or as a watermark on your images. I think, with Instagram these days, it's really easy to just scroll through, especially if you can't identify who that client is with that brand. So I think a logo mark, especially in that small little profile circle, is just so key to standing out among the masses. And then in Instagram or on Facebook or anywhere with like a watermark in the bottom right corner, I think if they're looking at their feed, it's something they can identify real quickly who you guys are without having your logo overtake the whole graphic itself. But that's just one part of the design. So we like to establish what those different logos are within your family, and then establishing a color palette. So like Devin had said, a bunch of roofers or contractors love a good red, love a good blue, and a lot of black, and maybe and there's just nothing, cool. I love it for you, but there's nothing that's standing out. She had mentioned one of our clients that we both work with, and they came with just literally, a black and white logo. Like this was their card, nothing that stood out to the client, to anybody. And we went in and we were like, let's take a different angle of utilizing not a black, it's actually an off black color. And then throwing some orange in there. So some pops of color, I think, is just really key. And then having, you have your primary colors and you have secondary colors in that library. So, we threw in some blues, a lighter gray, whites, just really establishing what those brand colors are. And then the third component of the design is the font or your typography. So you've got your primary typography that would be on headlines. It stands out on this one, it's like what you want everybody to read first. And then you've got your body copy. So you've got essentially two types of typography that can complement each other. Sometimes we'll throw a third one in there if we're feeling creative. But from there, we just build out your brand guidelines and your style guide that can take you and really lay a foundation moving forward, regardless of the the marketing collateral, whether it's digital or the traditional postcard that I love. I love mail, and I love to create things that really kind of tell the story. And that's just one component of your brand and the design. And I could go on and on about that too. But
yeah, so it sounds like, okay, so I'm a contractor. I come to you and I think I'm asking for a logo. You ask for my brand guidebook, and I'm like, I don't have that. And that's what you kind of build out. You build out their logo, but also the different, like a square version of horizontal, vertical, all those things. And then that brand guidebook, I think that's like something that gets lost or isn't really thought of. Like you get a logo, but then yes, what does like the brand guidebook actually will keep them on brand and tell them how to use their logo and the fonts and how to be consistent no matter which channel or vertical, in their marketing mix they're using, they'll be consistent, right?
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, I want you to be able to go and use your brand how you want to use it, but we also want to give you some guidelines or some guardrails. So in your guidebook, you're going to have, how not to use it, what colors not to use these, that kind of stuff. But, you might have to go to a different printer. And if you give them that guidebook, then they can keep it. It helps everybody, no matter who's touching your logo or your brand, keeps them in check, so that everybody's on the same page and everything just looks consistent and not Frankensteined, as we like to say.
Yeah. And I love what you said too about how you even include what not to do, because I think that's one of the things we run into too, where maybe you've got somebody that's managing your social channels and they're going to take that brand guidebook and maybe it doesn't completely give them all the parameters they need to live within, and they're working in Canva on some creative, but you might note in there some colors to avoid, so they don't end up using the brand guideline and then going too off brand there, and suddenly all that work isn't really reflected in what's out there on your profiles.
Yes.
Yeah, and you lose that consistency and all the work that you've built all along. Britt, let me ask you like a really high level question too, because I mean, Amanda and I, Elevation Marketing, we are not branding people. We don't pretend to be. That's like why, like, I just love talking to experts specifically about this. So what does your brand convey? Like, why is it so important to have a brand?
I think that it establishes credibility, first of all, and paired with that is, your digital presence, like a website. So I think that they work together to just lay kind of like a base of credibility. Second, it really is a way for you to communicate your personality. You know, are you a fun brand or are you a more professional brand? I think that oftentimes, you know, had this client, Gammy's Goodies, and it was like they were a bakery. So you just knew it was a sweet little grandma. It was a little cutesy, blah, 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 you know, that kind of stuff. It was real basic. She's still the sweetest woman ever. But then on the flip side, if you are like a wealth management firm, you want something that's a little bit more professional. So it really is able to tell the user right off the bat, who are you? You know, are they fun, cutesy, or are they more on that professional side? You know, and it's a good way to kind of indicate what industry you're in. You know, it's not, you don't want anything too generic. And it's also a good way to just stand out. I think that that's kind of like the high level of like why you should invest in it. I think one other component that we like to include is your brand narrative or your story. And that's another part of a brand that's like a component of design. And then you've got your narrative or your messaging. Because oftentimes I think people get confused of how you want to speak to your clients. What is that personality? Are you more of I'm from the South. So like, I like to say y'all all the time, you know, y'all.
I wish I had your accent. I want an accent.
Thank you. Thank you. That my mom actually has way more of an accent than I do, but I'm a big y'all fan.
Me too. It's very inclusive.
Yeah. Well, but when you're messaging, you know, if you're more of a professional wealth management, you're not going to use y'all in any of your content, whether it is social media or on your website. So we like to establish like what is that tone of voice that you're going to use? Is it that more level of you all, or you are invited to do that kind of thing? Additionally, you know, you've got your guardrails, you're this, but not that. So we kind of play this game or a word cloud of like, what describes your business? You're fun, or, you know, you're professional, but approachable. So it's like, you kind of are able to set those boundaries so that when you pass off work, you know, Amanda doing the content, I can give you those guardrails, and it allows your team to kind of streamline, okay, this is how we're going to talk to those customers.
Absolutely.
And so I think that that's like a really big part of it. And then truly establishing what your mission, vision, and values are, I think is a really big part of your brand as well. It can be used internally, getting everybody excited and how to talk about your brand, and then as well as just communicating to your clients about who you guys are. It's just a great way to show that personality. Long-winded.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you, what tips would you have for maybe one of our listeners that's just getting started? They certainly don't have the pockets yet to hire somebody like you to really help them establish their brand, but they want to make sure that they're as they get started and establish themselves in their community, that they're at least establishing the beginning of a brand, and hopefully one day they're going to have someone like you to help them kind of take it over the finish line.
Yeah. I think that investment into your like initial logo, I think is very important. At least partner with somebody that can like bring that concept to life, that has longevity. Think about Coca-Cola. Like Coca-Cola's initial logo has I mean, it's not the same, but you've seen this evolution of it. It's not been something stark, like, holy crap, they're different. Yeah. But if you look at them over the course of a million years, or how long they've been around, it has evolved. And I think that they invested in what they wanted that iconic mark to be, and really thought about that. And it really gave them room to grow. And then that way you're not just starting from scratch down the road, I think is really what I try to encourage people to do, is just find a logo, something that you're really drawn to, you're passionate about it. It's got something that means something to you, so that you can then build on it later on.
Absolutely. I think that's really great advice, because if you jump into it too quick, don't give it much thought, and then you're running with this logo for a few years, and then finally they sit down with someone like you and they're like, I actually hate it. It means nothing to me. Then you're kind of starting the brand from scratch. So ideally they've already got some of that notoriety with it, and it can evolve with them as a company. I love that.
And I think something you touched on earlier too is like you were talking about like your brand and kind of the visuals of it, but also the messaging and the storytelling. And that's another piece like we've been pushing with our clients and kind of in our copywriting this year too, is really using storytelling in your narrative because it, evokes emotion and helps people connect with the brand. And once you feel connected, you're more inclined to buy from people like, and trust, right? But so when you're going through like a branding exercise with a new client, and even, how do you kind of work through maybe or help them guide them through like what their narrative would be and how they do their storytelling? Like, because it does go together. And I'm sure as you're like doing your discovery phase and saying like, what are some, adjectives you want to be aligned with your brand, and then you kind of get into, and also hearing their background helps like tell the story. But I would love just a branding expert's like insight on the storytelling, I guess, not just with your brand, but even like in general, when you're like sharing a project profile or you're placing an advertisement or doing a direct mailer, like talk to us a bit about like that storytelling and the brand.
I think number one, that is kind of a challenge for clients is understanding who is actually buying your stuff or calling you on the phone. I offer sometimes for clients, it's like a kind of marketing playbook. And we do kind of a deep dive of like the demographics, the scenarios of like purchase scenarios or how acquisition scenarios is the word I actually use, but like identifying who's actually coming to you, why they're there. Take a roofer for, example, they have a leak, there was a storm, and it's most likely the woman calling because she's identified this leak from the storm last week. And identify how do you want to talk to them, but at the same time, making sure that you keep those brand guardrails, in focused, or those adjectives that describe you, and kind of tailor it to that piece that you're like pushing towards them. I'm kind of like all over the place, but like if it's like a little
it was
mailing,
a really open-winded question or long-winded question.
So I gotta get all my thoughts in place. But there's just I think at the end of the day, it's like understanding who's buying it, why they're coming to you, and like what piece of marketing are you doing? Is it just a simple ad that they're going to be scrolling on their Facebook and it needs to be really quick and show a picture of what the problem is, and that that in Gainesville, Georgia, there was a crazy hailstorm, like identifying, keeping it kind of real, understanding the situation at hand. I think I was trying to, for this one client, like a mailing piece. If you targeted a neighborhood, is there some kind of pain point or a certain kind of demographic in that neighborhood? Tell them a story, identify their pain point, give them a solution, and make sure that it's a really easy way to solve it or get in touch with you. And then just get them to your website or on the phone, and that hopefully will just communicate, and you will continue that narrative, along all the other touch points that they will kind of experience with you.
And it's so true. Like sorry, Amanda, I was gonna, I think that there's like a little pause on my probably corrupt internet, but so I was just gonna say though, having like a brand that like evokes like trustworthiness and like that kind of friendly, like knowledgeable language is so important, because like you said, typically like we see in home services, a lot of times like the woman is the one calling, and if you've got some brand that's like, we're the toughest roofers out there, like that's maybe not who I'm going to want to come inside with me while my husband is at work, and and you need to like, I see water coming down my wall, like, so it's like considering like who your demographic is important, because maybe in some worlds, if I'm selling protein powder, I really want those like high intensity people, because like they're passionate about their protein. But if I'm a mom, I've got a baby napping, and you're going to come into my house when my husband's at work, like I want to feel like safe, and like it's, like I trust the brand, I trust who the technician is that's showing up at my door, and kind of having some of those, like, I don't know, what the brand conveys are things that like we subconsciously think about before we make the decision to call or buy from someone. And I think that's like what you were like touching on really.
Yeah. And I was going to say too, that I feel like one of the things that we always think about when we think about branding is that it's, it's the external view into your company, how you're coming off within your community. But a lot of what you were saying too about those guardrails is it's also going to kind of help you as a company remain cohesive, and not every piece of marketing material is going to come from the same person. So if everybody kind of has those rails to work within, you can make sure that it still has some consistency, and just kind of give you that kind of internal check together. Like, okay, like we all know that we're going after that housewife out in the suburbs, or we all know that we're going after that, historical homeowner in this particular area. Knowing that together as a group is going to really help make all of it make sense, and then make all those efforts kind of come together. So I think it's really awesome to think about it both externally and internally.
For sure. And internally too, you're only as good as your team. So, having them become just as passionate about what you have invested in can only help them continue with that passion, and they will communicate it to your clients, because you can't control every situation, and you need to trust your employees or your team that they're going to be saying the same thing and they believe the same thing in the long run. I think is truly important. And that's another really it's just a great tool internally to use as well.
That's true. Getting that internal buy-in on the brand, and because the brand can be part of one of the tools in the shed for your sales team. If it's a known brand, it's a trusted brand. A lot of times, if you have a larger company, sometimes guys feel like they can go off on their own and they can start their own business. But I think that's when they realize the power and the impact of the brand of the larger company, and how much it really does help those conversions happen when it's a trusted, known, well-liked brand with a good reputation. And that's kind of, yeah, it really is a tool in the shed. It's not just like, cool, we're using this lead gen thing and we're going door knocking and we've got all these things in place. Like your brand is a tool in the shed.
Yeah. I mean, and to kind of even go a little bit further, looking at what that foundation is, like just the brand is very, very, very important, probably the most important part. But then close second is your website, because that is just the extension of your brand. That's how they will directly interact with you or your business right off of the bat. I think that's something that I really try to communicate to clients, is that, nobody is window shop. We're not going through the yellow book or is it the yellow book? Oh my, yellow pages. Oh my God.
Yellow pages.
That's how important it is.
That's how important whatever. But, or they're not going down the street and being like, oh, did you see that blah, blah, blah window? And I saw this dress, they're no longer window shopping. They're going to be browser shopping. And if they can't I know. But, they can't establish your credibility, right off of the bat when they land on your website, you're not going to get the conversions that you want. Just like a housewife, I know that if I needed to call a plumber and I'm Googling plumbing near me, I'm most likely going to call the one with the most up-to-date and easily, user-friendly website first to get a quote, than just somebody that may or may not have a Facebook page. At the end of the day, it's just investing in how your website communicates your brand and your personality and your messaging is a very close second to investing in your brand, or it should be the next step when starting a business, I think.
And we love that messaging too. And that's why we like working with you, because you can create these beautiful masterpieces, and our team can write the compelling content that converts and attracts buyers and appeases the Google gods. And so it is a very happy marriage between the two, because you really need someone with your lens, with the branding lens. Because if I went in and tried to create a website with just my SEO lens, it would be like, roofer near me, and it would just be too much SEO language, no marketing or brand language. So it is, okay, I've gotten better, folks, but it really is such a gift to have somebody with a different lens than what we work in on, the SEO side of things.
And I think that you kind of going into like our partnership, I always joke with people because they're like, so how did you get hooked up with these people? Like, funny story. I was like, they stole one of my clients, and they were like, what? And I was like, in a good way. Cause like they had gotten to a point where like, I just couldn't help them anymore. And they needed a team like you guys at the end of the day. Like, and that's what we're really good at. Sawyer Media Group itself, we truly love to create a solid foundation to help you grow, so that when you need or you identify a different need that I can't help you with, I am happy to pass it off to another professional that I know is going to take care of that brand and help them grow. And I think that y'all have done such a phenomenal job. I've learned so much, and I've been able to like keep my team in line, when they're thinking of all these beautiful like functionality. I'm like, dude, that's not going to help SEO because Devin and Amanda, no, not doing it. So I think it's really helped us kind of transform our approach to building websites as well. And it's just been I've really enjoyed it. And, I think it's freaking awesome.
We're just getting started. And I remember when Devin and I got off the phone with you after our first meeting, and we were like, oh my God, is she our friend? We're like, normally you go into those meetings where the handoff is, and there's a lot of aggression, and you were like, it was just so refreshing to hear you say like, we've run our course. They've outgrown us. We've gotten them where we needed to get them. You made good on all your promises, and then you want the best for them. So you were ready to pass them on. We spoke with someone yesterday who was in a similar situation, and his old agency was being very, like domineering, and accused him of bringing a girlfriend on a date because he brought them onto a call with him. We're like, that's not, as marketing partners, it's our job we're like raising them like little children, and we have to like,
I know,
respect the brand and let them go sometimes.
But that's the other important thing too, is if you're a contractor and you're looking to hire an agency, I think you need to identify like, where in your business timeline are you? Are you trying to establish, just a look like your brand itself and just get you on the map locally, or enough to just so people can increase your awareness wherever you are. And then like the other client, they just kind of ran their course with me, and I was like, y'all need somebody that like specializes in SEO. There's other agency that specializes in just social media, and that's not me either. Like, we'll create
not us either,
and all of the elements to do social media so it looks pretty, but we aren't the professionals at that. I think oftentimes a bunch of just businesses in general, they just think like marketing is marketing, but it's like there's different elements that are constantly changing. For you guys, Google changes like every other week, and I feel so bad that y'all have to like be on top of it. Like,
that's job security.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't handle it.
Another change.
I'm like, I'll help you make it look pretty. You just tell me what it is. But, social media wise too, like that's ever changing. And depending on the social media profile you're wanting to do, whatever you're investing in, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, you know what I mean? Like, you just have to be on top of what the changes are for the algorithms. And again, that's not us. We are good at what we do, in that it's branding and websites and just like truly creating stuff to make you guys look awesome,
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you partner. You got to just kind of identify what you want to hone in on.
Absolutely. Well, Britt, you have been just wonderful per usual. We could talk to you for hours and hours and hours. But I think there's been some really good information and some good takeaways, and like kind of that big picture view of like, why branding, what does it do, like what all is incorporated in it, some of those like bigger questions that I think our listeners are going to find like really helpful. So thank you for coming on with us.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it, y'all.
Absolutely.
So can you tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you if they want to learn more about you guys?
Yeah. So you can visit my website. It is sawyermediagroup.com, or you can email me at britt@sawyermediagroup.com. It's BRITT, 2 T's. But yeah, shoot me an email or find me on the website. There's a phone number there as well. Don't know it off the top of my head, but it goes to my cell phone. So that's some bad branding. Don't take note of that.
Don't worry about it. We'll throw it all in the meeting, in the notes of the video, in the podcast notes, so you'll have access to it. So thank you so much, Britt.
No problem. Well, thank y'all so much.
That was today's trade secret. Thanks for listening.
Did you find this helpful? We're just getting started.
Subscribe and don't miss our next reveal.
Until next time.